Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. I want to do segment 4 of the Henry Garrido DC37 letter. So let's go right to the letter. And this is the part of the letter that has really bothered a lot of people. At the bottom of page 2 and into page 3, though his term will end in December, City Council member Charles Barron previously introduced what I believe is the single most irresponsible proposal in the history of New York City Council. The bill would legally require the city to provide a Medigap plan for Medicare eligible retirees equal to or better than the one provided prior to December 31 of 2021, but does not identify a way to pay for it. This sentence is the most irresponsible sentence in this entire document, if I had to wage them all together. Councilman Charles Barron actually did the right thing for retirees. He introduced legislation that's literally 2 sentences long. The first sentence says that the city will provide a Medigap plan like what we've had in place since 1967. And it says that nothing in this legislation prevents the unions from collectively bargaining for those in their unit. Retirees are not in their unit. The bill is not illegal. Now, he says that it's irresponsible in the history of the council. It would require the city to provide a Medigap plan. Well, we've had a Medigap plan since Medicare became available to all Americans. We all pay Medicare tax in our paychecks. You should look at them because this is what you've paid into since you started getting a paycheck. We have paid for this for decades. He says that it does not identify a way to pay for it. Well, Mr. Garrido, and any union president that is listening to this and any city council member listening to this, it is already funded. It doesn't need to be said where it will be paid for. It is codified in Administrative Code 12-126, and it has been that way since 1967. The 12-126 says the city will pay the full cost of health care up to the HIP HMO. Now, Henry has suppressed that rate time and time again, but who does that actually cause a problem for? You, the active worker, not the retiree. The Medicare retiree, our plans are $200. We don't need the stabilization fund for any premium difference. Our plans are well under the HIP HMO benchmark. So you'll see here it says unions do not pay for Medicare retirees. That's it. Hard stop. Nowhere else to go. He says this would force active workers to hold the bill for $50 million per month loss of not implementing the Medicare Advantage plan. That's another thing wrong. Get a calculator, my friend. According to the actuary report from the controller's office, there is 183,000 Medicare eligible retirees. And the cost of our plan is about $204 today. So that roughly puts it at about $38 million a month, not 50. So stop with this crazy math. This is like maybe you've been spending too much time with Michael Mulgrew. This is the new math or something. It's not $50 million. He says it's an unfunded liability. This bill does the opposite of helping retirees. No, it's funded and it absolutely helps protect us because unfortunately you, Michael, Harry, the mayor, all want to steal from us to enrich an active worker. We're not going to let that happen. We earned this. Now, here's the issue getting deeper, which is what really bothered a lot of people. And if I could share it with you, half of my emails and text messages, you would be equally as angry. It perpetuates an unfair system that administers an inequitable distribution of benefits. So the vast majority of members in DC37 represents, retirees DC37 represents, including people of color, women, and the lowest paid city workers. Inequity, Henry? How is it inequitable? Retirees are your lowest paid, especially those who've retired 20, 30, 40 years ago, Henry. We are the lowest paid people. We are paid less than even your active workers today, and our pensions are fixed pensions. And when we get a raise, we don't get a $3,000 sign-on bonus and a 10 or 15 or 15, 18, 17% increase. We get 1 and 3%, 1, 2, 3%, somewhere in there, of the first $18,000 of our pension. That is it. So you want to talk about inequity? Let's talk about inequity. So if you look at the chart behind me, active workers, you get PICA. We don't get PICA as a Medicare eligible person. That is a benefit that you get as an active worker, not a Medicare retiree. Teladoc, Weight Watchers, those are things that are in the stabilization fund right now. The home care program, we don't get that. Not at all. That is you. You get that. You gave us the donut hole when you stripped away our donut hole coverage, which covered that part that once you hit a certain point, now you had to spend about $4,600 a year before the union's drug plan would pick back up. You gave us that donut hole where DC37 used to cover it. Inequity, Henry? Let's talk about inequity. How much more you were going to charge a retired person to preserve premium-free everything for an active worker. This is an active worker's future, and this should have been protected, except you sold us off like a bag of potatoes. You have 100% coverage. We have 20% coverage. Your plans cover 100% full of your coverage, not 20%. Ours only cover 20%. That's why our plans are cheaper, not paid by the union. It's paid by the city. It has been like that since 1966, and it's never touched the stabilization fund. And then premium. Let's talk premium, Henry. You want to talk equity? An active worker's premium, if they had to pay premium today, would be $17 for an individual, $200 for a family plan. That covers 100% of insurance. You were trying to force a retiree on a fixed small pension, like the Sally Robinsons who make $800 a month, or the firefighters that make a $26,000 a year pension. A $200 a month per person, husband and wife, for a plan that pays less than 20%, because you then saddled it with copays to make it as impossible for us to stay into it, that the copays that we were getting hit with amounted to a car payment. You want to talk equity, Henry? Let's talk equity. That is inequitable, especially that you did this and agreed to it when you were the executive director of the largest union in New York City of mostly women and people of color. You did this, not us. You want to talk equity? You screwed your own people. You screwed your active workers, and you surely screwed your retirees. This has been so disturbing to us that you did this. And then to play off in this sentence that you're this high and mighty wanting to protect people has been infuriating. You harmed us. The court stopped it because you violated the law, and yet you still want to blame the victim. That's disturbing. It also takes away the rights of unions and working people to negotiate their health care through collective bargaining process. No, Henry. Again, let's go back and play the videotape, because then I can show you that you're absolutely wrong. Before I leave this one screen, you're selling off retirees' earned and paid for benefits. We make small pensions, many under $26,000 a year, even under $12,000 a year. Our plan pays 20% of our bills, yours pays 100%. We are seniors, we are the disabled. What's unfair about that, Henry? You stole from your own people, and that is unfair. That is the problem. So I guess here's this other point I made is, you mean you're strong arming by withholding funding and endorsements to the city council. There's currently 14 city council members, actually there's 15 today, who signed on to the bill. We will continue to educate your elected officials. No, you're actually harming them. So now what I want to do is very quickly go to the audio of the court case so that you could hear again, because I guess you need to be reminded of actually what labor argued in this exact situation in 1971. Listen.
The active employees know that its cost is something that they've given up in order that they may in the future recoup in a sort of deferred way what they've given up while active employees. I think this is all inextricably intertwined.
Well, is this
one generates another.
Is this to suggest that when they arrived at age 65, the active employees and were mandatorily retired, that these revisions would be applicable to them as retirees, and that they may be less advantageous than were they able now to negotiate? They were able to negotiate for their own condition after.
And that's the judge talking.
I believe that's true, Your Honor. The more advantageous advantageous provisions that can be made for the retiree, the more the active employee anticipates that upon reaching the age of 65, he will enjoy no less than the retiree is now getting, and hopefully more.
Yes.
This meets the suggestion that the active membership of the union might sell the retirees down the river sometime.
Mr. Chief Justice, absolutely not.
I say you think it meets the suggestion. It answers it. But there is no likelihood that the actives are going to sell the retirees down the river.
Mr. Chief Justice, I have complete confidence that the union would not permit active employees to sell retired employees down the river. And I don't think any union worth its salt would dare take that position.
And if they did,
And if they did,
there'd be at least, if not a 301 action, there would be an accountability as a fiduciary, would there not?
there would be an accountability legally and politically.
Now, and that's exactly the situation we're in today. Unions took our health care of a retired person to finance themselves, something that labor attorney for the union argued would never happen, ever. Why? Because unions have collective bargaining, and you have the power that you could shut something down, as if you always say, Henry, right? What if you don't do if you don't get your raise? We're going to shut it down. Why don't you shut it down, Henry? Shut it down. Use your power. Shut it down. Go to jail like Roger Toussaint did. Stand up for something. Don't steal from your own people. And equity, let's talk equity, brother. You don't steal from a retired person. We get less than you do. Don't steal from what we have, and tell the truth. That's really important. And stop using race. We know what we are. We know what we have, and we know what you took. And we know now that you're lying about it. It's not the labor way. Protect labor, protect Medicare, protect your retirees. This is your future. You better protect it.